You ever walk into a fancy restaurant and immediately realize this was a mistake? Like, the second they hand you the menu, you know you've wandered too far from where your debit card feels comfortable. They got words on there that sound like somebody sneezed in Italian. And the waiter, he's not even saying he. He's giving you life advice about water. Would you like still or sparkling? I'm like, I just want wet. You sit there pretending to understand, nodding like you're in control. But deep down, you're Googling, what is aioli? Under the table. And that's when it hits you, you're too dumb for this place. But here's the twist: being too dumb isn't a problem. It's a reminder. Because life's gonna hand you a lot of menus. You don't understand career choices, relationships, new challenges. You'll look at them and think, this ain't for me. But that's the moment you grow. See, it's not about being smart enough for the menu, it's about being hungry enough to stay. You learn by ordering wrong. You grow by sitting through awkward moments. And eventually, the same words that used to confuse you start to make sense. So yeah, maybe I'm not fancy. Maybe I still think charcuterie sounds like a French disease, but I'm learning, and that's the point. Because confidence isn't knowing everything on the menu, it's knowing you'll figure it out as you go. And that, my friends, is the kind of wisdom that doesn't need a reservation. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything, it grows from standing in the middle of confusion and deciding not to run away. When you're lost, unsure, and slightly embarrassed because everyone else seems to have it figured out, that's the place where confidence is born. It's easy to feel strong when life makes sense, but real confidence forms when nothing makes sense and you choose to keep trying anyway. Confusion means you're learning, stretching, and stepping outside what's familiar. Every time you face something you don't understand and resist the urge to quit, you build a layer of quiet courage. Confidence is not the absence of confusion. It's the ability to move forward despite it. The moments when your voice shakes, when your plans don't add up, when you ask the dumb question that everyone else was afraid to ask, those are the moments that shape your inner strength. You begin to realize that confusion isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. It shows you where your limits are and invites you to push them. You don't have to look certain to be strong. You just have to keep walking through the fog until it starts to clear. There's a kind of strength that comes from admitting you don't know something. Many people spend their lives pretending to be experts in rooms where they're actually students. But pretending to know blocks the door that leads to growth. When you choose to embrace learning instead of faking knowledge, you give yourself permission to be real, to explore, and to ask questions without shame. There's freedom in saying, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. That simple honesty invites understanding to enter your life. Every expert once stood where you are, uncertain, curious, maybe even afraid of looking foolish, but they chose to stay open, to learn, and to practice until what was once confusing became familiar. Faking knowledge is like wearing someone else's shoes. They might look good, but they'll never fit right. True wisdom comes when you accept that not knowing is part of the process. Every mistake, every misunderstanding, every time you ask for help, adds another brick to the foundation of real confidence. Learning is not a weakness, it's a superpower that keeps you growing while others stay stuck pretending they already arrived. Curiosity opens doors that pride keeps locked. When you're curious, you ask questions that lead to understanding, but when you're proud, you assume you already know the answers. Pride wants to appear smart. Curiosity actually makes you smart. The curious mind is never threatened by not knowing. It gets excited by the chance to find out. Pride stops you from listening, but curiosity leans in closer. The world belongs to those who stay interested, who observe, explore, and never lose the wonder of discovery. Pride builds walls to protect the image of knowledge, while curiosity tears those walls down to let wisdom flow in. A curious person isn't afraid to look foolish because they care more about growing than looking perfect. Every new skill, every fresh idea, every breakthrough begins with a question that pride would never allow to be asked. When you choose curiosity over pride, You make room for new perspectives, deeper understanding, and creative thinking. You stop competing to be the smartest person in the room and start learning from everyone in it. Curiosity keeps your mind alive, humble, and hungry for truth, while pride leaves you stuck defending what you think you already know. Mistakes are not proof of failure. They are evidence that you're trying, learning, and moving forward. Every stumble, every wrong turn, every awkward attempt is practice wearing a disguise. The world often teaches us to fear mistakes, to hide them, or to feel ashamed when they happen. But the truth is that mistakes are the building blocks of mastery. No one becomes great without collecting a few scars along the way. Each mistake carries a hidden lesson, a detail you missed, a skill you're refining, or a truth you hadn't yet seen. When you stop seeing mistakes as the end and start viewing them as rehearsal, your entire mindset changes. You begin to experiment, to take risks, to grow without fear. Perfection doesn't create excellence. Persistence through mistakes does. Every correction sharpens your focus, every failure adds experience, and every setback gives you strength. Mistakes are simply practice sessions written in real life, teaching you what no classroom ever could. They shape your resilience, reveal your weaknesses, and push you to improve until progress becomes natural. When you treat mistakes as practice, you turn frustration into fuel and disappointment into direction. Growth doesn't happen in the places where everything feels easy and familiar. It begins the moment you step outside what feels safe. Comfort is quiet and warm, but it rarely challenges you to become more. The edge of discomfort is where your potential starts to wake up. It's where your mind stretches, your confidence builds, and your limits expand. When you leave your comfort zone, you confront uncertainty, fear, and doubt, but you also discover strength you didn't know existed. The first steps are always uneasy, like walking on new ground without a map, yet each step teaches you how capable you really are. Growth doesn't come from doing what you've already mastered. It comes from trying what scares you. The people who achieve the most aren't necessarily the most talented. They're the ones willing to be uncomfortable long enough to grow through it. Discomfort is not punishment, it's preparation. It shapes your endurance, deepens your perspective, and strengthens your faith in yourself. Every time you stretch beyond comfort, you create a new version of you, wiser, braver, and more resilient than before. Failure is a language, and every time you experience it, you learn new words that success will one day require. Each disappointment, rejection, or wrong move teaches you a phrase, a tone, a lesson that can't be found in any book. When you fail, you're not just losing, you're collecting understanding, insight, and wisdom that will shape your future victories. Success doesn't speak the language of perfection. It speaks the language of persistence, and failure is its teacher. Every missed opportunity adds a new word to your vocabulary, words like patience, humility, and resilience. The more you fail, the more fluent you become in recognizing what doesn't work and what truly matters. People who never fail never learn the depth of success because they never had to translate pain into progress. Each setback sharpens your awareness, teaches you what to avoid, and shows you what to improve. Failure rewrites the way you think, strengthens your emotional endurance, and expands your ability to adapt. When you understand the lessons hidden inside failure, you begin to speak success naturally, not through luck, but through lived experience that no one can take from you. Simplicity is often misunderstood as a lack of intelligence, but in truth, it is the highest form of clarity. It takes wisdom to strip away the unnecessary and focus on what truly matters. Stupidity complicates things to look important, while simplicity refines things to make them meaningful. A simple mind is not an empty one, it's a focused one. When you think simply, you see truth faster, act cleaner, and live lighter. The smartest people often speak the simplest words because they understand that understanding is more powerful than showing off. Complexity can be a disguise for confusion, but simplicity reveals mastery. It's easy to make something sound deep by adding layers of noise, but it takes strength to express it plainly. Simplicity doesn't mean doing less, it means doing what counts. It's knowing that peace has more value than pressure, that calm has more power than chaos. In a world that glorifies hustle and noise, Choosing simplicity is an act of quiet brilliance. It shows you trust your clarity more than the world's confusion. When you live simply, you create space for focus, creativity, and freedom to grow without distraction. Humility is the quiet strength that unlocks opportunities arrogance will never reach. When you carry humility, you don't need to announce your worth. The world recognizes it naturally. Arrogance demands attention, but humility earns respect. A humble person listens when others speak, learns when others boast, and grows when others argue to be right. Humility keeps you teachable, open to new ideas, and ready to admit when you're wrong. It doesn't weaken your confidence, it refines it. Arrogance closes doors because it assumes it already knows everything, but humility keeps knocking until the right door opens. People are drawn to humility because it feels safe, real, and honest. It creates connection where pride builds distance. Being humble doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It means understanding that your value isn't measured by how loudly you prove it. True wisdom hides in gentle hearts that know how to serve before they lead. When you approach life with humility, opportunities find you, mentors trust you, and even challenges turn into teachers. Humility quietly builds a path upward, one step at a time, while arrogance stands still, too proud to notice the door was never locked. Laughter is the bridge that makes life's hardest lessons easier to cross. When you learn to laugh through your mistakes, disappointments, and detours, you take away their power to break you. Every challenge carries a lesson, and humor helps you face it without bitterness. It reminds you that failure is temporary, that embarrassment fades, and that growth can still be joyful. Laughing through the lessons doesn't mean ignoring pain, it means refusing to let pain define the story. A sense of humor turns frustration into perspective and mistakes into memories that no longer hurt. When you laugh, you release the tension that keeps wisdom from sinking in. Life teaches best when you're relaxed enough to listen, and laughter keeps your heart open. It softens the blow of correction and helps you recover faster from disappointment. People who can laugh through the process learn quicker, love deeper, and carry lighter hearts. Laughter reminds you that you're human, that you don't have to be perfect to make progress, and that every lesson, no matter how hard, becomes easier when you can smile at how far you've come. Staying hungry means never settling for what you already know or where you already are. It's the fire inside that keeps you curious, learning, and reaching for something deeper. When you stop feeding your mind and spirit, you stop growing, and life begins to feel smaller. Hunger for knowledge keeps your thoughts alive, your perspective expanding, and your creativity awake. Every book, every conversation, every challenge becomes fuel to move forward. But knowledge alone isn't enough. You also need purpose. Purpose gives your hunger direction. It turns effort into meaning and ambition into impact. When you know why you're learning, every lesson becomes personal. Staying hungry for purpose keeps your heart anchored when life feels uncertain. It reminds you that success isn't about collecting facts, but about using what you know to make a difference. People lose passion when they stop pursuing growth, but those who stay hungry never grow old in spirit. They chase wisdom, not applause. They seek understanding, not comfort. Hunger for knowledge expands your mind, and hunger for purpose strengthens your soul. Together, they create a life that's always moving forward, always curious, and always full of energy to keep becoming more. Life's kind of like sitting in that fancy restaurant, staring at a menu full of words you can't pronounce. Everyone around you looks like they know what they're doing, but you're over there pretending you've heard of foie gras before. You nod politely, act confident, and then quietly ask the waiter, so what exactly is that? And that's when it hits you. Most of life is exactly like that moment. You're not supposed to know everything. You're supposed to learn as you go, laugh when you mess up, and keep showing up anyway. The people who look like they have it all figured out are usually just better at hiding their confusion. The truth is, nobody's as confident as they look, and everyone's trying to order from a menu they don't completely understand. Being too dumb for fancy restaurants isn't really about intelligence, it's about honesty. It's about admitting that you don't know, but you're still willing to sit at the table and try. because that's what growth looks like. It's not about being the smartest in the room. It's about being the one still asking questions. Every awkward moment, every wrong order, every mistake is teaching you something you use later. And sometimes the best lessons come from the most uncomfortable experiences. So yeah, maybe you don't belong in the fancy restaurant right now, but if you keep showing up, one day you'll read that menu with confidence. You'll laugh at the memory of when you didn't understand any of it. And the best part is, you won't just know what aioli means, you'll know what it means to keep learning, to stay humble, and to never stop growing, even when you feel out of place.